Well, let me quickly go into the problem of good and evil, which is something that is a very, very difficult, very challenging issue. It's one of the most difficult issues on the spiritual path is to be able to embrace creation in an affirmative way, including the dark side, because it has the dark side, as I talked about it. So people who come to terms somehow with the existence of the dark side, they usually see somehow that it has a necessary role in creation. First of all, creation is what we can call creatio ex nihilo, which is creation out of nothing. And so one of the insights is that it has to be symmetrical. Again, we find it in physics. In the clown chamber, we see that pairs of particles and antiparticles are created. There are cosmologists who believe that at the beginning, in the Big Bang, the equal number of particles and antiparticles were created. But a more common insight is that it somehow gives a tremendous depth and richness to this cosmic game. They once asked Ramakrishna, Swamiji, why is evil in the world? And he thought for a while, and then he said, to thicken the plot. And when I first read it, I said, thicken the plot. I mean, what are we talking? We're talking about little children, dying of cancer. We're talking about napalm. We're talking about Hitler. Thicken the plot. But then, when you think about it, there's something to it. Tev Sparks, who's a very good friend of mine, and he leads now our training, holotropic training. He is a great fan of movies, and he's working on his sixth screenplay. And once he gave me a manual how to write a screenplay, and it began telling you that if you want a guaranteed flop at the box office, you make a movie about life in a happy village where there are no problems, nothing ever happens. So I have here the kind of a mental experiment that you can do. If we eliminate everything out of the cosmic game that we consider to be the dark side, something that we would rather not see, and you start, let's say, with diseases. So we take out diseases. There have never been diseases. Nobody has ever been sick. Now, we cannot do it in an isolated fashion. We also automatically lose the whole history of medicine, all the people who sacrificed their lives, all the heroes, the pioneers, the Virchow's, the Pasteurs, and so on. We use the physicians, lose the nurses, the Good Samaritans, Mother Teresa was her Nobel Prize, and so on. So we lose a lot of what we value. We can look at the even more obvious thing, which is violence. So let's say take violence out of the cosmic game. Nobody has ever been. Well, everybody was always nice to each other. Now we are also losing a lot. So we lose all these freedom fighters, all the triumphs of victories over oppressive regimes. We lose all the intelligence that went into development of weapons over the ages, but also the defense against weapons. We lost all the fortresses, all the medieval fortified castles, all the museums, that show weapons and uniforms. But we also lose a lot of art. There would be not much left of the Hollywood archives. A lot of good art, paintings, sculptures, music would disappear. Also, absence of metaphysical evil would reduce very much the function of a religion. God would become kind of a guaranteed commodity, and so on. So if we do this kind of mental experiment, we start seeing that was not such a unrealistic sort of assessment what Ramakrishna did. But it remains a big problem, I mean, to really accept the full range of creation. Now, does this mean if we see the world as a cosmic game, does it mean that it gives us license to do anything we want to? It's all just a play, nobody dies anyway. Now you find out that it's much more complicated, which is to reach these kinds of insights really on a cellular level, you have to go through a complicated process in which you have to work through a lot of your own aggression. So as you are discovering these kinds of perspectives, you also lose the proneness to violence or the tendency for violence. I remember as a 17-year-old, when I was first driving, when there was a rabbit going across the street, I would step on the gas. This was like potential dinner, Now I brake for butterflies, So it's quite a difference. Then also we would have transpersonal experiences in which we discover our fundamental unity with the rest of creation. And a kind of an ethical system emerges, which is very different from the 10 Commandments or precepts. You will not do this, you won't do that. There is as was mentioned actually earlier today, there is a cellular experience. We are fundamentally one with each other, so I cannot do anything to anybody else that would not be happening to me at the same time. We discover something like the law of karma. If you don't want certain consequences, you would not be doing certain things. And then another interesting thing is that some people would say, if the world is not real, that sort of means that nothing really matters. Now you can feel tremendous compassion to sentient beings who are units of consciousness, because it is an experience that you are relating to. It's not the material that you're relating to. So these kinds of insights actually paradoxically increase compassion or a sense of oneness and sense of responsibility and sense of service and so on.